All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after taking a little bit of a weekend hiatus from the Pocket Change Market Report. We are officially halfway through the week. Hopefully you guys had a very safe 4th of July. And yeah, we are continuing to trudge on. Now, from this point forward, between now and Labor Day, usually the dog days of summers, the weather's hot, people are out vacationing. Will this affect the market at all? Well, we got the first report here today, chronicling day one of the next 60 days. It should be quite interesting to see where we go from here, considering that the U.S. Mint has a few really high-profile releases. Will that at all impact the secondary market for errors and varieties, which, as you guys know, is a very niche part of numismatics? But still, there are a lot of people that love hunting for these things. People understand that these coins have a tremendous amount of value, well beyond intrinsic value of some of the silver and gold coins that exist out there as well. And they just simply cannot be ignored. You know, you could find a 1 cent, penny, whatever out in circulation today that could be worth $25. Or in the case of a certain 2023 Extra V Lincoln cent that is still selling really well right now. That's a coin that you can sell for between $50 and $75 right now. I'm telling you, it's still quite healthy, this market that we're in. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we have here for today. A few little things I'll point out. We don't talk about graded coins. Grading generally adds in a whole bunch more expenses that maybe is not warranted, because a lot of these coins simply sell for themselves. And secondly, all the images that you're going to see today are all 100% original to the respective sellers' listings. That way you're going to get the best and worst images throughout. It's a kind of set that you'll know what the bar is set at when it comes to photography, and you might even get a little lesson out of it as a result. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check things out here. All sales are within about the last 24 to 36 hours. Again, very busy market that we're in currently, even after the holiday weekend. All right, so the first coin that we have here, nothing too crazy, but just recognize that there are a lot of repunch mint mark and double to die varieties that are quite minor to a point where they're not recognized in either the Red Book Price Guide by Whitman or the Cherry Picker's Guide, but they're still worth looking for because there are completionists out there in the collecting world that like to collect maybe all of one variety for a specific date. You know, it's, again, very niche, but there is always a need for these. So this particular coin right here is a well-known D over D RPM. I say well-known in a sense that variety hunters know about this one quite a bit, myself included. This is RPM number 17, which really just features a rotated mint mark that was punched over. All right, so nothing too incredible, but you can see the split serifs on this particular coin. It's actually stronger than it looks. But you know, you're not gonna get rich, or you're not going to be able to retire finding such coins, but they will certainly, you know, all add up at the end. This one sold for $6.85. So again, it's another coin that you can look out for. You know, this image right here was done by a digital microscope, I would imagine. A digital microscope isn't necessarily needed for photography or even just to look at the variety in question. But just get used to being able to see these with like a 10 times power magnifier. Those generally work really well. Quick little update on a very nice looking 2000 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one has the wide AM reverse. This is the variety you want to look out for this particular date. And the coin is in phenomenal shape. I'm going to just say it's at least a mid-state 65 if we're going off of numerical grade here. But you're going to look right here between A and M. You're going to see a pretty noticeable gap. This particular coin was struck with a reverse die that was intended for the proof coins for that year. So the proof coins had a wide AM, while the business strike coins that are made for circulation use have a close AM, where the A and M are touching. All right, in this particular case, again, an error by the mint. At the time, in retrospect, they probably saw it as a very minor thing, didn't mind using the proof dies to strike up the reverses of these coins. So one in this shape, and I'm still happy to say that they're somewhat affordable, but if you're looking for like super high-end graded pieces, they can get pretty expensive. This one sold for $24.50, and it's one of the more common varieties that you can look out for in change today. Probably not one that you can find in change, but just know that maybe some of these can pop up at coin shops or shows. You know, there are dealers that don't particularly specialize in errors or varieties. Maybe it's probably the most distant thing that they want to learn or being able to promote through their business, because again, it's a very niche market. There's going to be some people that'll come in, which makes up kind of like that less than 1%, that actually will ask for errors and varieties. All right, so just recognize that. But on eBay, you have a lot larger world of people to kind of capture here in order to sell some of these coins. And that's why I'm saying that errors and varieties are best sold on an online platform, such as eBay, or a Facebook marketplace that deals in errors and varieties. There are a few of them out there. So this particular one right here is a coin. It's a dual error, by the way. The Lincoln cent has no readable date. It was broadstruck, which means the collar malfunctioned, and thereby, the coin was struck without the aid of the collar to keep that strike in place. So that metal flow kind of like pancaked this coin out, first of all. But second, you have a really nice mushroomed out, what they call indent. So there was another planchet that was overlapped on this one. The two coins were struck together. So there's, kind of like a lock and key kind of thing happening here. This one right here obviously would be the lock. You have another coin that would probably match up to this. You would overlap them together and have a really nice pair. But does it still exist out there? Not sure. In hindsight, they're all quite unique. All right, and that's why I'm saying they're a great kind of like lock and key type of collecting. And this one obviously is a copper-coated zinc-in. There's always storage kind of issues we have to be aware of here, as that zinc is extremely not only porous, but also does not mix well with any moisture whatsoever. As a matter of fact, you begin to see some of the deterioration, corrosion process, once that zinc becomes exposed to any sort of humidity, any sort of moisture whatsoever. So this crazy looking error ended up selling for $68.88. If this was on a pre-82 copper, these things will jump up exponentially, hundreds of dollars. Here's a really nice earlier dated 1970s Roosevelt dime. It doesn't have an actual full digit to know what the actual date is at the end there, but this one is off center by about 20 to 25%. Very attractive coin. Again, these typically are collected by date, but if you don't have a full date, that can hurt the market on these. However, this one still ended up managing $34.99 here in the last day or two. First piece of currency comes in the way of a 1950B $5 Fed Reserve note. As you can see, this one has some what looks to be reverse print on there. This is what they call a back-to-front wet ink transfer. All right, consider it similar to what a die clash is on coinage. So there was a little bit of residual ink on the impression cylinder. This was after printing a sheet that maybe had a corner fold or something on it. So some of that ink from the printing plates actually made contact with the impression cylinder and not actual paper. So when it goes to printing out the next sheet in line that has no issues, no folds or wrinkles or anything like that, it's going to leave that little bit of a reverse impression from the printing plates to whatever corresponding side that they're going to be printing. Usually it's going to be the opposite side here. This is what they consider a partial as well. So it's not a full 100% wet ink transfer. Those are a little bit more desirable in the marketplace. But nonetheless, this one right here ended up selling for $138. And keep in mind, a lot of these have been sold over the years raw. You don't have to grade these. They again sell for themselves. And, for nice acceptable pieces, maybe higher denomination type of notes, the prices have been rising on these. So just be aware of these in case you come across one at a coin show or a coin shop and it's just not their thing. You can maybe negotiate them down quite a bit so that way you could add it to your collection or resell it on your own. Now, always a favorite. Now, if you're an avid roll hunter of candy halves, so that way you can find silver, always know that this coin is going to be in the back of your mind as one of the marquee varieties of the candy half series. 1974D, it's a DDO, double die obverse. It's the FS101. Check out the doubling on the words we and trust. And then on the 4-digit in the date, you can see just amazing splits. You can see notching in there as well. This is just one of the strongest. The good news is it's also one of the most common varieties. Okay, so these coins traditionally have that kind of like $10, $12, and then they go up from there depending on grade type of valuation, which last time I checked, a 90% half dollar is around $10. So they have a very similar valuation to a 90% silver half. So they're as good as silver. This particular one sold for $24.99. You could sell this and then go ahead and buy yourself a couple 90% half dollars to kind of like take the place if you're a stacker. Not something that you traditionally see, but hey, it's worth noting that this $1 silver certificate, it's a 1935D, by the way, has an inverted overprint, or that third print. Everything is upside down. So anything that you see that's in blue ink, along with the signatures on here, it looks like it could be like a Julian and Morgenthau signature combo, which plays right into the 1935 series. That was inadvertently printed upside down on the sheet. So the sheet more than likely was upside down, and then the obverse, or the overprint, that third print, was applied when the sheet was upside down. So this one right here, again, these are very valuable. It's one of the most valuable currency errors out there. This one sold for $632. Just look at the note in general. It's not the most prettiest, but it is certainly scarce. Here's one of the bigger deals of the day in terms of how cheap it went for. It's still a really good variety, ladies and gentlemen. Always look out for this. Besides, if you're going through Lincoln cent boxes and all that, you're going to be hunting every single 1960 large date Denver coin that you could possibly get your hand on, because there's so many repunchment marks. There's a really big large over small date variety along with an RPM. I mean, this is a big date right here. This is one of the big RPMs on this coin, and the coin is actually in really nice shape. You can see that secondary Denver mint mark is punched west of the primary. Again, that thing is just absolutely strong. This coin only managed $4.25 with 4 bids. So don't know what happened. I think it was a late night deal or an overnight deal, and that's kind of what hurt this one a little bit. Make sure you guys are aware of when the end of your auction is going to occur, even before you generate the listing. That's always important. Don't do it too late or too early. Now, very rarely do I post $100 bills here because there's such a high denomination. There has to be a really good reason. And in this particular case, there is. Check out the serial number on this one. Now, I didn't highlight this one on Monday's, fancy serial number report because it just sold yesterday. But it's what they call a double quad fancy. It's one of the more desirable fancy serial numbers out there, probably part of that top 20% of fancies that are worth quite a bit more, depending on what it is. But you have 4 8s, 4 5s. All right, double quad means that they're all in succession. You're not going to see 85, 888, 5558, or whatever. You know, they're all grouped together. And you have 4 of one number and have 4 of another set. The note is in great shape, although it's worth noting that there is a teller mark here. They actually, while these things are in a strap, a teller or bank employee will take the anti-counterfeit marker and they'll just scrape it across the edge, which sucks. I don't like it when they do that, but you know, they don't know any better, right? As collectors, you know, we kind of cringe at things like that. But I'm willing to bet you guys are interested in what this sold for, which it was a really easy double up. Sold for $216.75 with 5 bids. Again, all in part to that fancy serial number. Here's another one right here that people are still finding out there in the wild. It's a 1937 D buffalo nickel 3-legged buffalo. All right, so this one is a lower graded example. The seller had mentioned it was VG. I believe it was even in some other weird third-party graded holder. I forgot the name of it, but the slab was octagonal, or you know, in shape. I forgot for the life of me. I can't figure out who the name of that company is, but they've been long gone. They were never relevant to begin with, so. You know, even a broken clock is correct twice per day. So they definitely got this variety down pat. And usually with these, you know, you have to be absolutely careful because it is one of the more commonly counterfeited coins. Now on the 37D 3-legged buffalo, all right, you're going to keep an eye out on this kind of like pitted, deteriorated back leg, which this one does have. And then there's also going to be a kind of like a pitted, what they call P line. All right, you guys have probably heard that till the cows come home. It's a very common kind of like feature on these. This one right here ended up selling for $430 with 2 bids. So again, even in this condition, folks, it's still one of the more valuable varieties to look for. And they're not particularly rare. And that's why a lot of people are still able to cherry pick these out of big bulk lots. Here's our next piece of currency, a really nice one, albeit very subtle. I'm willing to bet a vast majority of people will overlook something like this, but it's a 1953 $5 silver certificate with a slight misaligned overprint. All right, and generally what you're going to look for is going to be this blue district seal right here. Isn't completely centered on where it says 5. All right, and it's really minor to the point where it's one of the most negligible type of errors in paper currency hunting. This particular note sold for $20.29 with 11 bids. That's a very fair market value for this note with a very minor misalignment. There's not even a lot of overlap, or if any, of any of that blue ink on anything else from the second print. The note's in pretty decent shape. Does have a little bit of circulation wear, but you know, just know that they're not going to command a whole lot of money. Here's a really wild-looking 1983 P Washington quarter. It's struck off center by about 60%. So we don't normally come across these like mid to early 80s off-center strike Washingtons that are this far off center. All right, but I'm glad to say that this one certainly takes the cake. It sold for $52.50 with 13 bids. This is a necessity or maybe an upgrade to a date set. Folks that are into errors will typically pick a series or maybe even a decade, and then they'll just collect some of the nicest off-center struck coins from that particular decade. So this is one of them right here, a very exquisite looking example with a, you know, for by and large, a very nice readable date, even though it doesn't show 1 and 9. We do know what it is anyways, and a full readable mint mark. It's rough looking, but still one to be on the lookout for. 2001 P Rhode Island statehood quarter with a nice size cut die break that goes from the edge into the bridge here. That's one of the more distinguished cuts from the statehood quarter series. And this one right here sold for $31.99 with 4 bids. Again, grade, you can make the argument that it doesn't matter as much if the CUD doesn't show up in the marketplace too much. People will still pay up to own something like this. And this is probably one of the least stimulating photo sets you'll see on one of the listings here in recent memory. But this is a 1936 Lincoln wheat set. The full obverse and reverse pictures are okay. They're serviceable for what's needed here for the sale. The seller mentioned that this is a doubled die obverse, so it's either the FS 101 or 102. We don't know what it is because the only close-up that they provided was actually the date. And you can tell it is the DDO, either 1 or 2. It's got the doubled inside tail, as you can see right there. So it's got the 2 tails. It'd be nice to see the motto, "In God We Trust," and Liberty, because there's a distinct look of the letter Y in Liberty that differentiates the 101 to the 102. So again, take close-up photos of all of the relevant pickup points of these varieties so that way you can make the maximum impact. But even still, really good sale, $32.15 with 10 bids. It seems to be the going rate, although I've seen coins in similar conditions sell for as upwards of like $50. So could have been a little bit more money to be made here. Real simple, 1980p Washington quarter with 2 sheet clips on there. So it's got the 2 clips, one right here, and then the other one right above the Y in Liberty. You can see it as well on the reverse too. Again, 2 clips and higher on any one coin will elevate the value of these. This one sold for $34.95. It was a buy it now listing, and someone came in and swooped it up. And world coins too also can be very, very fun to look through. Number one. Number two, they can have a lot of liquidity, especially certain countries like in South America, Central America, Mexico, Canada. There are certain regions of the world where errors and varieties are worth a whole lot more money. Okay, 1912, Honduras, 2 centavo. Check out all of the wicked die breaks on the reverse there. This thing's all knotted up with cuds and cracks and all sorts of stuff. And that's what you want. So even something like this, the coin still ended up selling for $31 with 2 bids. Very nice example. Again, something similar to this on, like an Indian headset. Man, that coin would be worth like $200 to $300. So this is just yet again another way that you could cherry pick like these bulk cheap lots that you see at coin shops and shows for things like this. You're going to be hitting a home run every single time you find one. We didn't have much in the way of lots, all right? So we do have this one. It's a lot of 3 Lincoln Memorial cents are all struck off center. I'm going to venture to guess they're all 2001. This was one of those notorious dates that you could have found in those sealed bank bags back in the day. And, this is a really nice kind of like 3-coin set. You have one with a full date, and then you have varying degrees of spread on the other 2 as well. The coins are in great shape. No carbon spotting or corrosion to speak of here. But will you be able to buy something like this and then flip each coin individually? That's the question. Especially if you're looking to just kind of like take advantage of bulk deals, because those folks know that they're going to be accepting less money because it is in bulk. This 3-coin lot sold for $40.25 with 19 bids. So that's a tough one. That puts these at right over $13 per coin. I could see possibly selling each one for around $20 a piece. There's not going to be a ton of money to be made here. By the time you factor in fees, you might net out maybe $5 at the most per coin. You really have to decide if this is something for you. Otherwise, it's a great kind of starter set for this type of error. Neat one here. The same seller had another one similar to this one, I'd say a few weeks ago. 1979p. Susan B. Anthony. A coin looks struck off center, but in reality it's a partial tilted collar. So the collar was slightly tilted to where you don't have a fully struck reeded edge. that goes beyond that, thereby creating a stepped railroaded edge. It's actually a really neat effect. And it's really easy to spot as well, especially when you have a bunch of coins stacked and you're looking at the edge. These things stick out like a sore thumb. This one sold for $46.25 with 12 bids. And one of the big varieties, 1984 Lincoln Memorials, it seems to me that varieties of the Memorial series, they're hot right now. They're hot targets for roll hunters and variety searchers alike, all right? Because there's so much to find, and we're seeing just this gross amount of new supply entering the marketplace. This has got to be like the fourth or fifth doubled ear 84 that I've covered here just in the last week. Whereas the prior 6 months before that, you would be lucky to see one of these sell because people are just holding on to them. They're like one of the hottest coins right now. But you can see this one also has some counter damage, some of that roller damage there on the obverse, has a carbon spot. So the coin definitely has issues. There's your doubled eared on this one. It's the FS 101 as well. How about $103.75 for the sale price? Quick little buy it now shot here for this one. And just a testament, a coin with some problems still manages to scoop up a large amount of money from the market. I just like this broadstruck nickel. It's toned, and that's something you just don't see that often. It's a 99p, one of the more common dates for this. Nice, well-centered broadstrike with lots of color. Don't know where it was stored at, but I would imagine somewhere where it's quite humid to be able to captivate some of that colorization. This one sold for $34.95. If I was seeing it, I would have bought it. So it would have certainly left the market one way or the other. Here's another silver certificate, this time with a gutter fold. All right, so the gutter fold's created by a wrinkle in the sheet, plain and simple. And during the whole process, the first, second, and third print of the note, it never got discovered. It was never, because they'll usually, stretch out the paper so that way the print over isn't as obvious on this one. So this one right here sold for $75. Again, a very nice note. Oftentimes you won't see the gutter; you'll just see a wrinkle in the note, and then you always do a little stretch out, see if it kind of accordions out to what you see here. We have a little bit of update on the Extra V. They have kind of settled down a little bit. All right, we're not seeing the prices continually erode to what they were at before the big Mike Diamond article on these. So again, there's a lot of speculation as to what this could be. But you can see that Extra V after Victor David Brenner's initials. This is always going to be kind of like the big coin this year until proven otherwise, until like maybe a nickel or some other, American Women quarter, kind of swoops in and saves the day. All right. So this one right here sold for $78.25 with 11 bids. Again, kind of like the sold listing valuations these days have been in like $50 to $75 range, depending on condition as well. And beware, if you're hunting one of these and you're actually wanting to buy one on the secondary market, people are attempting to counterfeit this anomaly, all right, by scraping their own V into the base of the bust. So definitely do keep an eye out. There's a certain distinct look to these that you need to be aware of. Really cool one here. I mean, this is just a great looking 1916 Buffalo nickel. It's the 2 feather variety. So we have an over abraded die issue here where it completely obliterated that third feather. Popularly collected, Cherry Picker's Guide variety. This one sold for $60. The higher the grade, these things are worth a lot more. And the blind back quarter, these things are always going to be hot, hot, hot. They're still really selling really well, even in circulated condition. 2020p American Samoa is what we're looking at here, but you can see the field restricted strike through event on the main bat's face. Mama bat's not looking too good these days. This one sold for $51 with 4 bids. Keep in mind, that's not the biggest size anomaly that you could find for this. Here's a 1966 Lincoln Memorial set. Slightly off center. Not a traditional date that we see for this error. This one sold for $34. Not too shabby. And this one's funny. 2022P Wilma Mankiller double-sided retain cut error. However, this whole shadow kind of looking thing here on the obverse of the coin gives the appearance that the coin's bent. I don't think it is. It even has a little flattened edge here. So, and I just don't like the way that the guy is holding it either. All right, you put it onto a surface with a darker background. Take the picture like that. All right, and that's how I would do it. But this is still going to be a very highly liquidable coin till the end of time. This one sold for $350 as a best offer. So someone put in a best offer on this. Their original ask was $600. So whoever got this probably got a really good deal. It looks like a double struck Lincoln cent, but it's something else. 1999 is the date on this one. This is what they refer to as a saddle strike. All right, so you don't have the main strike, which is perfectly centered on the actual planchet. You have two off-center strikes. So when you see two off-center strikes on one coin, that indicates saddle strike. It looks like there's some damage here. It looks like someone scraped in 31 or a 3 or something like that right there. But very interesting. To say the least. Again, not everybody grades these. Error collectors, some of your purists, they just don't need to grade anything at all. But this one ended up selling for $205.25. Again, another very valuable coin, but very, very, very sellable, ungraded. Couple more left here. 1946 Lincoln Wheat Cent has a big bulbous retain cut die break on the reverse. I own like 2 or 3 of these myself. I found them in wheat cent bags. Always want to keep a lookout for. There are some of these cuts from the 40s that pop up when you least expect it. This one sold for $53.87 with 8 bids. And the final piece, ooh, man, this thing's really cool. Pinehurst Coins actually sold this one. And they really don't sell a whole lot of currency, but I'm glad to see this one actually made it. 1981 $5 bill with all sorts of gutter, fold issues, print overs, mainly on the overprint. Pinehurst made mention that this could be like a paper jam. If you guys know your print through the BEP, the sheets really don't jam. They just fold onto itself. At any given point. It's not like a Xerox copier or something like that. But yeah, this thing's really wild looking. Again, it's problem free and it's ungraded, but you can see all sorts of wrinkling on that sheet just by looking at this one note here. And then you have a really kind of crazy little weird butterfly cut on that part of the note. So this monster right here is sold for $305 with 31 bids. Just a really, really king-sized error on this $5 Fed Reserve note. And that's going to go ahead and do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me on this one. And thank you again for all your views and support. Now, my work is done. Yours is beginning. Go out there, get some hunting done. There's way more to find in this sea of numismatics beyond what I'm talking about here today. Again, you don't have to grade anything to sell it. And if you're looking to enhance your collection in a big way for very little money, this is the way to do it. Go through bank rolls, go through bank straps, go to coin shops and shows, cherry pick them with the unattributed varieties and errors, and have fun with it. Go to town and really build a collection that you're proud of. But that's going to go ahead and do it. I'm your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Always a pleasure. Stay tuned for the Northeast Oklahoma Coin Show recap. I will be delivering that to you today, later on this afternoon. I got a lot of great stuff to talk about and share, and a few not so great stuff to talk about and share. But that's it. I'm out of here. You guys take care. Happy hunting and best of luck.